Hey, how's it going? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing my April TBR as well as like some video plans, some readathon plans. There are so many things happening in the month of April. I have so many different reading vlogs planned. I have a Patreon exclusive readathon planned with my friend Lexi that I can't wait to tell you all about, and I have some booktube announcements for the month of June that I am very excited to share with you. There's a lot going on in the month of April, but before we do jump into the reading plans and the TBR, I wanted to take a second to thank today's video sponsor, which is Book of the Month. Because if you're a big reader and you somehow haven't heard of Book of the Month yet, it would be my absolute delight to tell you about them. Book of the Month's mission is to help readers discover new books they love and to promote the work of emerging authors. Their team vets the hundreds of different releases that are coming out every single month. They read them all, and then they end up picking the top few that they think their audience would be the most interested in reading. It's usually about 5 to 7 picks. And not only does Book of the Month help you discover new books you might not have ever heard of otherwise, like seriously, I'm always discovering books that I've never heard of from Book of the Month, and I'm like, that sounds amazing. How have I never heard of that? But also at the same time, they have some of my most anticipated books of the year as selections all the time, which makes me equally excited. There really is something for everyone, and let me tell you, there is nothing more exciting than the beginning of the month when I get to find out what all the selections are, and then getting that blue box in the mail. Ugh. The exciting news for audiobook lovers is that Book of the Month has recently launched curated audiobooks as well. So now you can choose every month between a hardcover fiction book or an audiobook. Something that I really appreciate about Book of the Month is that there's no risk, because if you're not feeling any of the selections that month, you can skip any month with no penalties and you will not be charged. And also the fact that they still offer the best prices for new hardcover fiction books. Right now, if you go and walk into any bookstore or go online anywhere, you're gonna find hardcover books are pretty spendy. Usually hardcover fiction books right now, they go from anywhere to like $25, even up to $30. But this month, when you join with the code PASTEL, you can get your first book for just $5. Literally $5. Like, that is less than a cup of coffee at most places. That is crazy. One of my picks this month ended up being Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, because this is one of my most anticipated romance books of the year. This author has written so many romance books that I've loved before, and I've been really looking forward to this one. And then I also ended up picking, they had 2 romance selections this month. They had this one called How to End a Love Story, and this is one that I hadn't really heard of, but after I read the premise, I was so intrigued. I love romance books that follow authors, so I was immediately like, yeah, this sounds like something I want to read. So if you would like to get either one of these books or any of the many selections they had this month, they had so many good picks this month, it was actually really difficult to choose. So if you'd like to check out Book of the Month, you can use my link down below, and don't forget to use that code PASTEL to get your first book for just $5. Absolutely wild. So thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get into the TBR. Okay, so first things first for this video, I want to let you know all of the information for the book troupe coming up in these next couple of months. So if you haven't yet heard, for the month of April, we're going to be reading Murder Road by Simone St. James, which this is one that I'm very excited about. This was recently a Book of the Month selection, so you can pick it up from Book of the Month as well. And this is one that I'm really excited about because Simone St. James has been pretty hit or miss for me in the past, but this is one that I'm especially intrigued by. I mean, the fact that it takes place in the year of 1995 is pretty sick because that's the year that I was born. It says we're following a young couple who find themselves haunted by a string of gruesome murders committed along an old deserted road. It just sounds like it's gonna be a fun time, and if you haven't heard, I'm gonna be joined by both of my friends Gavin and Katie for this live show. I'll have them linked down below if somehow you haven't heard about them yet, but they are literally some of my closest friends here on booktube, and I can't wait. Like, I think this live show is gonna be so much fun, whether we end up loving it or hating it. I think it's gonna be a great time. And then in the month of May, I'm so excited. If you missed it, I announced that we're gonna be reading the book Diavala, and this is a horror book that I'm very intrigued by. It's described as like a gothic kind of horror book. I don't know too much about this, but I know that it's published by Tor, and usually their books end up being like my particular brand of weird that I really look forward to in horror. And I think we're following this family who's like on a vacation. I don't really know. I don't really know too much about this. I don't want to know too much about this before going into it, but I'm so excited to be reading this in May, and I'm so excited to let you know that my co-hosts for the month of May are gonna be Jan over from Jan Agaton, which is so exciting to have her back. She's been on the book troupe once before, and then I'm also gonna be having Jordaline from Jordaline Reads, and she's also been on the book troupe once before, so I'm so excited to have them both back on again. I adore both of their channels so much. I will have them linked down below if you want to check them out. They both read a lot of horror. Like, they are definitely like some of the queens of horror here on booktube. So I thought Jan and Jordaline would be the perfect people to reach out to read this horror book with, and so I can't wait. I really hope it's something that we all end up enjoying. And then I'm so excited to let you know that for the month of June, I had my Patreon vote on these 3 books. These were the 3 options that they could vote on for the month of June, and it looks like Listen for the Lie ended up winning that poll by quite a bit. So this is going to be our June pick, which I'm very excited about. This was recently a Book of the Month pick as well. I actually heard about this book because of Book of the Month. Like, I had never heard of this before. I saw this was a selection and I was like, oh my gosh, what the heck is that? It just sounds like it's gonna be such an interesting time. It involves these 2 girls who live in this small Texas town. It says, years ago, Lucy was found wandering the streets covered in her best friend Savvy's blood. Everyone thought that she was a murderer, and now it's been years since that horrible night. She's moved to LA and she has started a new life, but it says now the huge hit true crime podcast Listen for the Lie and its two good-looking hosts, Ben Owens, have decided to investigate Savvy's murder for the show's second season. And so she's going to be talking about, I guess, on the podcast, like what really happened. It sounds really interesting. I do tend to love in thrillers when they have some kind of podcast element. I think it's going to make it extra fun. And so I'm really excited to read this one with you in June. Hopefully you can join us. I think it'll be a fun time. And then another book club kind of thing that I'm excited to tell you about is in the month of April, my friend Kayla, who runs the Literally Dead book club, she invited me on as a co-host for the month of April, and we're going to be reading the book Night Watching by Tracy Sierra, which this is one I am so incredibly excited for. I've been hearing a lot of really great things about this. All I really know is that this one's a thriller and that we're following this woman who is home alone with her young children during a blizzard when she hears a noise and then she hears footsteps coming up the stairs. Like somebody's breaking into the house when she's alone with these kids. And then it says something about how she like might recognize the man. Like that's kind of what the premise ends on, is that she might recognize him. Like it might be somebody that she knows. And so that right there, like I'm so intrigued. I've been hearing great things about this from most of my friends. Like almost everybody that I know has been giving this 5 stars. So like I am so excited. Like this could be a 5-star prediction for me. I can't wait. And so I'm really excited to be reading this with Kayla for her book club this month. I think it's going to be a great time. And then I also thought I would let you know about a Patreon exclusive readathon that I'm going to be hosting with my friend Lexi over from Alexandra Roslin. And I am so excited for this readathon. I think it's going to be so much fun. It's called the Tortured Readers Department. And yes, it is kind of named after the new Taylor Swift album that's going to be coming out in the month of April. So this readathon is going to be available for all the different tiers on my Patreon or on Lexi's Patreon. It's going to be happening from April 12th through the 18th, basically like leading up to the new Taylor Swift album. And for this readathon, we have a bingo board of prompts, and there's 9 prompts total. Some of the prompts are based after famous poets, and then some of the prompts are based off the song titles that are on this new album. Me and Lexi are going to be hosting 2 different rounds of reading sprints during the week, and then we're also going to be hosting a folklore long studio pond sessions watch party on Disney Plus. It's going to be so much fun. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be vlogging this readathon or not. I haven't fully decided, but if I do end up vlogging it, I might actually read a few of these books because some of our prompts are related to like reading new mystery thriller books that were published in 2024, or even like reading a new romance book. So if I do end up vlogging that week, there's a high chance that I might get around to some of these romances and some of these thrillers that I've been really excited about. But I'm also hoping to read quite a bit of poetry during that week because one of our prompts, you know, because it is like the Tortured Poets Department, a lot of our prompts are related to like poetry as well. And I haven't been reading as much poetry in these last like couple of years, but I really do love poetry and I've been meaning to get back into it anyways. And so this readathon will be the perfect excuse for me to read some more poetry. And then speaking of Patreon, I'm also going to be doing a full video with me and my sister reacting to the new Taylor Swift album. That's going to be an exclusive Patreon video this month. And then also on Patreon this month, I'm going to be reading the new Emily Henry called Funny Story. Emily Henry is like one of my absolute favorite romance authors of all time, and she has a new book coming out in the month of April called Funny Story. This book is publishing like towards the end of April, so in the last week of April, I'm going to be doing a Patreon exclusive reading vlog where I read this one. And I love doing the Patreon exclusive vlogs because it really gives me the opportunity to like really get into spoilers if I want to do that. So I can't wait. I'm really hoping to love Funny Story. And then one of the first reading vlogs that I'm planning for the month of April is going to be the first episode of like the Reading Reese Witherspoon's 2024 book club picks. And I'm really excited to do this. I'm really excited, but also really nervous. So for this first installment, I've decided to make this video series. It's going to be 3 episodes long. So in this first episode of this series, I'm going to be reading the first 4 selections so far this year. So for January, she had First Lie Wins by Ashley Elston, which this is a thriller that I've been very excited to read ever since it was announced that it was the January pick. I've just been like eagerly waiting to pick this one up. And then I'll also be reading Redwood Court was her February pick, and then Anita DeMonte Laughs Last was the March pick. At the time that I'm recording this, she actually hasn't announced the April pick yet, so I don't even know what it's gonna be. Maybe I'll try to like film my reaction to it when I find out. But I'm really excited and really nervous to start out on this Reese Witherspoon project because we do have a lot of crossover and like similar taste sometimes with Reese Witherspoon, but then sometimes I have completely opposite taste from her. So like it'll be really interesting to see how this experiment goes throughout the year. But I am planning to do 3 episodes throughout the year. So the first one will be coming in April, and then hopefully if everything goes according to plan, the next episode would be in August, and then the last one will be in December this year. But yeah, as far as the rest of my TBR goes for this month, I do think that I would like to do another reading vlog this month where I'm like reading 3 new anticipated thrillers or something like that, because I really do have a ton of thrillers. Like they are just stacking up. And so some of the thrillers that I'm considering reading for a video like that would include If Something Happens to Me by Alex Finlay. This one is one that I'm just so intrigued. I'm so excited excited. This one actually goes on sale in May, so I feel like April would be the perfect time for me to read this one. Part of the big reason why I'm also so intrigued with this one is because it takes place in Italy, or at least part of it takes place in Italy, and I'm like, that's so cool because I'm gonna be going to Italy for the first time this October. I also still have Daughter of Mine by Megan Miranda. This is a thriller that actually goes on sale April 9th, so I really need to get around to reading this one. So this is another one that I'm potentially gonna be reading this month. Can you imagine what if this one gets picked for the Reese Witherspoon book club pick for April? That would actually be so convenient if she picked a book that I already had plans to read. And then I also have this thriller that's called You Know What You Did. And this is another one that goes on sale in April, so like this would be the perfect time for me to actually read this one. This one just says it's a thrilling debut for fans of Lisa Jewell and Celeste Ng. It says 3 generations of Vietnamese American women come to terms with nightmares past and present. It sounds like it's going to be interesting. I don't know, there's so many thrillers on my TBR that I need to get around to, so these are just some 3 options that I have. I am trying to read more nonfiction this year, as I've been mentioning, so I think the nonfiction book that I'm going to try to read this month is going to be the new Gracie Gold book. This one's called Out of Shape, Worthless Loser, and this one's a memoir of figure skating, fucking up, and figuring it out, is what it says right here. So I'm really looking forward to this one because I'm not too familiar with Gracie Gold's story, to be honest, but I've been very fascinated by figure skating. Like, figure skating is one of my favorite sports to like watch or to participate in. Like, I really love figure skating. I think it's so much fun. It's something that I wish I would do more often, to be honest. I really think if I like took classes and became more competitive with it, like I could really get into it, you know? But figure skating is so much fun and I'm so curious about this, so I've been really excited to read this one for quite some time. And then for manga, I would love to read Killing Stalking Volume 5. I'm just making my way through this series, and this series is one that is incredibly dark and disturbing, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it to everyone because it is very disturbing and it makes you uncomfortable to read, but there's just something about it. I'm just really loving this series, so hopefully I'll be able to get around to the 5th volume this month. Some of my reading plans for April are still up in the air. I'm definitely considering doing another episode of like the backlist bonanza this month where the spin the wheel chooses my TBR. It's really just gonna come down to if I have enough time to squeeze in a video like that this month, so that's always a possibility for something that you could see from me. I am working on another monthly vlog for the month of April, so that's something you can expect to see from me later this month. And definitely keep an eye out for my channel in May, because in my May TBR video that's coming out next month, I'm going to be announcing Summerween for this year and telling you all the details, which I'm so freaking excited about. It's coming! It's almost here! So we have that to look forward to as well, which I'm very excited about. But yeah, for now, April is going to be an incredible month. I'm so excited for all the different reading plans. So let me know, what do you plan to read in the month of April? If you've read any of these books that I'm talking about, then let me know what your thoughts are on them. And thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for being here. I really do appreciate you. And I will see you very soon with another video. Bye!